Some stories begin with betrayal, others begin with silence. But this one ends with fire. This is the final chapter of Jasmine Rhodes versus Redbridge. And in this one, truth goes public. The van was dead quiet. Tariq's hand hovered above the steering wheel, his eyes flicking between Jasmine and the trees ahead. But Jasmine didn't blink. Her phone screen glowed cold against her face. The file had opened. Project Widow, Phase 1 approval. Redbridge Technologies, internal use only. Date, 18 months prior to termination of Jasmine Rhodes. Status, operational. Attached were 3 encrypted subfiles. Tariq leaned over, decrypting now. The screen flickered, processing, then unfolded into a nightmare. Subject 001. Test environment complete. Behavioral reprogramming trial. Phase 1 success. Control variables. Stress identity isolation, employment bias pressure. Below that, a video file loaded. Jasmine tapped it. The footage was grainy, time-stamped from a Redbridge lab facility. It showed a young black engineer, someone she vaguely recognized from her early days, sitting in a glass-walled room, hooked to biometric sensors, speaking to no one. A voice over intercom barked instructions. Pushback during meetings. Gaslight performance reviews. Eventually, termination. Then silence. On the screen. Result, subject resigned. Psychological compliance achieved. No exposure risk. Jasmine felt bile rise in her throat. It wasn't just systemic racism. It was tested, measured, engineered, and she had been next. Tariq's voice cracked. They turned discrimination into a lab experiment. She scrolled further. Project Widow Goal, predictive bias modeling for organizational compliance. Use case, strategic terminations, controlled attrition, cultural engineering. And below that, the line that ended her composure, recommended for full deployment across partnered institutions Q3. The institutions listed: Redbridge, Lexington Health, Halverson Media, even public school systems. They were going to scale it, Jasmine whispered, weaponize it, and then sell it. She backed out a file, hands shaking. One more folder, labeled Asset Insurance. She hesitated, then opened it. A still image loaded. Same man, same lab, subject MD status, inactive, containment active. Malcolm Drew, not a whistleblower, a prisoner. Tariq's voice was barely audible. We have enough to bury them. No, she said coldly. We have enough to bury and burn them. She looked out the windshield again. We're not waiting for them to strike first. Then what's the move? Jasmine looked down at the drive Julian gave her. We go to the one place none of them can erase. She looked up. The press. 2 days later, every major outlet in Austin was there. Nova's rooftop conference space was packed. Journalists, cameras, murmurs of curiosity and confusion. Jasmine had made no promises. Just a single line in her press alert. The truth about Redbridge Technologies will be made public. Come ready. Tariq adjusted her mic at the podium. We triple-checked the drives. We're clean. You don't have to do this live. Jasmine nodded once. I do. She stepped forward. The chatter stopped. The sun hit her shoulders. Her navy blazer looked sharper than ever. Her natural curls were pinned high. Her presence, unmistakable. She opened with no slides, no slogans, just a name, Malcolm Drew. A ripple moved through the crowd. You remember him as Redbridge's former VP of brand strategy. But what you didn't know is that Malcolm tried to expose something, and they made him disappear. Reporters leaned forward. Phones rose. Shutters clicked. They didn't just fire black professionals for speaking up. They studied us. They engineered systems to isolate us, to break us down, to erase us. It was called Project Widow, and I have the files. Gasps, audible. She continued. 3 other executives were targeted before me, all black, all removed with language like not a good fit or poor cultural alignment. She held up the flash drive. This drive contains biometric test data, behavioral reports, internal memos signed by Elaine Howard, banking records tied to Frank Carver, and one manifest, confirming that Redbridge stored a human being like equipment. Silence, not shock, rage. I was meant to be their final test, Jasmine said. But I flipped the experiment. A voice from the press pool called out, "Where's Malcolm now?" Jasmine's voice cracked, but she steadied it. "We don't know, but the evidence suggests he's alive, and we intend to bring him back." Reporters surged forward. Questions flew, but Jasmine stepped back. She'd said enough. Now it was time to see who came to silence her next. That night, every major network covered the leak. Project Widow trended in 4 countries. Elaine Howard declined interviews. Frank Carver vanished from the radar. Redbridge stock plummeted by 32% in 6 hours. But by midnight, the threats began. Tarik's voice came through Jasmine's earpiece as she exited the elevator. 2 corporate subpoenas served to our office today. One anonymous cyber attack. But we're holding. Jasmine walked calmly into the Nova war room. Julian Cartwright was already there. He looked like he hadn't slept. "You dropped a nuclear bomb," he muttered. Jasmine poured coffee. "Then why are you here?" He didn't answer directly. Instead, he handed her a printed email chain. Elaine to board. Activate Phase 2. Secure Widow assets. Discredit Whistleblower. If Cartwright refuses, terminate. She exhaled slowly. "They're going to use the system again." "They're going to use it on you," Cartwright corrected. "And if they do?" she asked. Julian looked at her, finally letting his guard drop. "They won't just kill your company. They'll kill your name." Jasmine didn't wait. She sent a formal invite to Redbridge's board. One final sit down. Streamed live. They accepted. Too arrogant to decline. Too desperate to spin. Jasmine entered the same glass boardroom where it all began. This time, the cameras were hers. The microphones were hers. And the narrative? Hers. Elaine walked in wearing black again. Pearl necklace. Poised. "Is this really how you want to play it?" "I'm not playing," Jasmine said. "You are." Across the table, Jasmine laid out every document, every memo, every signature. Elaine didn't flinch until Jasmine pressed play. The boardroom speakers echoed the voice of one of Carver's guards. Because Carver wanted insurance, and Elaine needed leverage. Dead people don't talk, but they also don't sign NDAs. Elaine froze. The board murmured. And then Jasmine delivered the final blow. "You didn't just engineer bias. You kidnapped the only man who could stop you. And now that man is alive." Elaine stood. "You have no proof." But Jasmine smiled. Tarik entered, holding a tablet. He tapped the screen. Live feed. Grainy, but real. Malcolm Drew, breathing, weak, blinking, in a hospital bed. "Found him," Tarik said. "Dumped near a remote clinic outside El Paso. He has no memory of how he got there, but he remembers everything else." Elaine's face drained of color. Jasmine leaned forward. "You tested me for weakness, for collapse, for silence. But I learned something you didn't model for." "What's that?" Elaine whispered. "Survival." By week's end, Elaine Howard was indicted on conspiracy, obstruction, and unlawful human experimentation. Frank Carver was apprehended at a private airport trying to flee to Zurich. Redbridge was placed under federal investigation, with Project Widow officially shut down. Malcolm gave a single interview from his hospital bed. He ended it with one word: Jasmine. She didn't want credit, but she got something better: accountability. Weeks later, Jasmine sat alone on her office balcony, watching the skyline. She held a letter in her lap, not from Redbridge, from a woman in Memphis, a teacher. It read, "My contract was terminated for being too confrontational. They said I was scaring the other teachers, but I showed them your video, and I showed them the files. I've been reinstated, and I'm not afraid anymore." Tarek appeared at the door. "Another one?" Jasmine nodded. She folded the letter and looked out at the city. "They wanted Project Widow to erase us," she said. "But now it's a blueprint." "For what?" Tarek asked. Jasmine smiled. "For everything they fear. They tried to silence her. They tried to break her. But Jasmine Rhodes didn't just survive. She flipped the system on its head. Project Widow is dead. But the fight for equity, for truth, that's just beginning." What did you think of the final twist? Do you believe more institutions were involved? Drop your comments below. We will make sure we read everyone's comment. And don't forget to subscribe to Truth in Black and White, because in this world, justice doesn't whisper, it records everything.